welcome. I'm Chanel, and I'd like to welcome you on behalf of AAXO to our latest Lunch and Learn series on the power of PR. We at AAXO want to ensure that you and your teams are continuously learning and gaining new insights. AAXO is here to support its members and our industry. If you're not yet a member and you are interested in joining us, please email axo@axo.co.za to find out more. Also, share any specific topics that you'd like us to cover going forward. So do keep in touch with us. So before we get into the session, just some quick housekeeping. We are recording today's session. So if you would like to share with any team members that couldn't make it, we will be sending you, providing you the on-demand recording post the session. Also during the session, there's going to be 2 polls. We would love to hear your insights, so please look out for those and participate in that. And lastly, if you do have a question during the session, you can either just raise your hand or send your questions in the Q&A box, and the speakers will be checking that throughout the session. So today, to get into the session, today's Lunch and Learn session, we're going to be unpacking the power of PR. This is going to be run by Pulse Communication, who was formed by a dynamic duo of both Samantha Thomas and Kirsten Roos. If you're looking for the visual representation of the polar opposite, this is it. Sam brings a free-spirited and creative edge to the business, while Kirsten is very tenacious and solution-driven PR specialist. The glue bringing these two together, there's no fluff approach to their business. So just about today's Power of PR session, you can expect to walk away with a better understanding of PR and influencer marketing as a tool for your business and the value that it can and does add to the events and exhibition sector. So, I'm going to hand over to the 2 ladies.
Thank you very much, Chanel, for that introduction. And it's lovely to be here today with all of you to discuss the power of public relations. My name is Kirsten. I am 1/3 of the managing partners of the business. And next to me is my co-founder and business partner, Sam Thomas.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sam, and we're really excited to take you through the power of PR today. And hopefully it's super informative for you guys and you walk away with a better understanding.
So let's go through a bit of the discussion outline. What do we intend on unpacking in the session? Just a brief introduction of us as an agency. I think the value is really in the unpacking the value of PR today. Following that, we'll do an overview of tactics. We'll talk about influencer marketing, which, although forms part of the PR stable, has its own section dedicated here. Case studies, measurement, and of course, some of the key 2023 trends we see in the PR industry. Before we kick off, I thought we could start off with a poll, Anthea, if you wouldn't mind putting that up now, on what is PR. You would be surprised at how many people aren't aware of what PR is. My husband, who I've been married to for 6 years, is still not aware what I do for a living. Yeah. So out of the 3 answers, which one do you think is PR? Is it advertising? Is it sales? Or is it reputation management? And we will get to the answer in some of the upcoming slides. So who are we? We are a strategic communications agency that focuses on a host of PR services, with our passion and skill set lying in PR strategy, content creation, media relations, and influencer relations. We work across both the B2B and the B2B sectors, but we have a specific niche focus in the events and exhibitions industry. Pictured here from left to right, it's myself, Kirsten Roos, highly photoshopped. I am in charge of operations and strategy at the business. I have over 10 years of experience in agency, working on both local and global brands. In the middle is Minky Mortabella. She is the other 1/3 of the managing partners at Pulse Comms, and she also heads up our Gauteng presence. Minky, we met in her capacity as a content creator. However, she has a host of skills, including logistics, strategy, and event management, and she heads up our business development.
I'm Sam, as I've mentioned probably 3 times. I've been in the PR agency for about 10 years. I've worked on everything from fashion to NGO to education, but my real passion lies in finding creative and impactful ways to bring a brand and its messaging to consumers. I am the creative head at POS Communications, as well as the influencer marketing specialist.
Right, so a short timeline on our business. We are still a very young agency. This is our 3rd year of operation. Sam and I are first and foremost friends, and we did found the business in 2020, having worked in agencies at the time. We found that a lot of startups and SMEs were pivoting their service offering to the market, and as such needed to pivot their messaging to their target audience. So we founded Pulse with the intention of servicing them at a lower price point, a bit more suited to a startup and SME, to help them get their message to the market. Since then, SMEs are still very much a passion of ours, and we do work closely with them, but we have been lucky enough and hardworking enough to work with a lot of larger enterprises nationwide and globally. 2022, we aggressively looked at expansion of the business, and as such, we officially brought Minky on board, who I previously introduced. And again, she manages our Gauteng presence. 2023, we're not entirely sure what the year holds ahead for us, but we do know that our year of the word is abundance. So here we're looking for abundance of opportunities, of relationships, of collaboration, and of partnerships across the board. Unpacking PR. So Anthea, do I have the results? Okay, so 86% of you said reputation management, and 86% of you would be correct. Reputation management, yes, it is the professional maintenance of a favorable public image. How do we do this? We build meaningful connections on behalf of your brand with your relevant stakeholders, whether those stakeholders be media for earned media coverage, whether they be stakeholders for endorsement or for credibility, but essentially we facilitate right fit partnerships for collaboration. I'd like to take you through a few common misconceptions because the amount of times in my career I've sat in meetings and these have come up as definitions of PR has been astounding. So the top 5 that stand out for me is 1, PR is the same as advertising. This is entirely incorrect. PR, yes, works with the above the line / advertising teams, but it is not one and the same. PR is earned for, whereas advertising is paid for. PR is seen as endorsement, third-party credibility endorsement, whereas advertising is seen as promotion. PR is a sales driver. So PR absolutely can support your sales team in getting that exposure and awareness and top-tier media titles for you, but that is not the main focus of PR. Our main focus is brand credibility, brand awareness, and education. PR is spin. So this one hurts a little bit when I hear it. PR is not spin. PR may have used to be spin many, many moons ago, but PR is not propaganda. It's packaging of the truth in an easy to digest way. All PR is good PR. Need I remind you about crisis communications? So bad PR can be very damaging for your brand. And no, not all PR is good PR. PR is immediate. This one, I think, still takes a while for people to grapple with and understand, but consistency is key when it comes to PR. A one-hit wonder might have immediate results for your brand, but you're looking for longevity and you're looking for consistency in terms of your media output. We do draft a lot of content and insights for the AAXO blog. So if you'd like to learn more about our thoughts on various topics, head over to the blog and you can read more. The next poll, Anthea, if you wouldn't mind bringing that up.
So we're going to lead into this poll and it's going to be an immediate answer. So when reading an article, when reading an article, how much time do you spend looking at the advertisements versus reading the actual article? Do you spend 90% of your time reading the article and really just ignoring the ads? Do you read both the article and the advertisements, or do you skim the article and then go to follow the ad links?
Okay, we'll give you a few seconds.
For the results.
Okay, 88% of you.
So when you're reading an article, it may be a thought leader piece, it may be a piece relevant to your industry, it might be an announcement. There's normally a spokesperson that will have been quoted, and that in itself is PR. That is earned media. That is what we do. Do you even remember one of the brands that would have appeared in the banner ads around that article? My guess is likely no. And therein lies the value of PR.
So just to add to what Sam said, why is PR valuable? It allows you to share your narrative. So it allows you to tell your story and own your story with your target audience, whether that be customers, prospective customers, investors, current and potential employees. Sir Richard Branson, possibly one of my favorite quotes of all time. And if you leave with anything today, I hope you leave with this quote. A good PR story is infinitely more effective than a front page ad. And that's tying into my point earlier about earned media and being seen as endorsement versus paid media being seen as promotion. Tying into the values of PR, there is a ton of value in PR, and I could probably sit here for the whole hour-and-a-half session telling you about the value. But the top 4 that stand out for me is that PR helps you increase your brand awareness. And with brand awareness comes brand credibility and endorsement. So your brand is being seen as endorsed by a third party, which would be the media, making it a bit more easier to believe to your target audience. We are able to educate on your offering. So if you're looking to share a specific offering or value to the media or to your target audience through the media, we are able to educate in the content that we distribute or pitch. It allows you to stand out in a saturated market and ensures your voice is heard proactively and that you are included as a thought leader and expert when it comes to commentary in trending topics. And of course, it allows you to retain and attract talent and clients. No one wants to work with a brand or work for a brand that has a bad public perception. It could make or break your talent pool, and PR can help position your brand in a favorable light. Relationship building, the crux and golden thread of public relations. Why is this so important? 73% of all people point to brand engagement as an important factor in building their loyalty. This is according to the PwC Future of Consumer Experience report. 86% of customers who have an emotional connection with a brand are more likely to continue business in the future. This alone should showcase to you the importance of relationship building across the board, not only media, but with your stakeholders. PR in action. So every PR strategy begins with a goal. Whatever your goal is, whether that be delegates to your event, whether that be conversions, whether that be more exhibitors, positioning your brand in a certain light, you need to start off with a goal, and then you need to work back and curate your PR strategy around that goal. In our opinion, you break PR up in 2 sections. So this is very much our insights and our thought on this, but PR can either tell the news or it can create the news. What do we mean by telling the news? We can plug into existing activities and partnerships. Have you got a new merger that you'd like to announce? Let us tell the news for you. Let us create that, or tell the news and pitch it to the relevant media titles. Or let us plug into your existing activities, whether you're hosting a conference, to create or tell the news around that. It can also work with other media marketing mediums within your business. So PR can amplify existing out-of-home and above-the-line campaigns. And finally, it can also help with newsworthy announcements. So if you've got news to tell, let PR help you do it.
PR is also adept in creating the news. More often than not, there might not be huge news within your industry that the media are covering. And that means that we need to start creating the news for you as your PR agency. And how we do that, one of the steps is creating newsworthy campaigns. This involves social listening, news watching, industry monitoring. It's about understanding what's happening, not only in your industry, but in the world and what people are interested in seeing, and help letting that feed into the campaigns that we create for you. Angle conceptualization is crafting angles that resonate not only with your brand and its messaging, but also the target market you're trying to pitch to, as well as the publication you're trying to get into. We craft those angles that it marries all three of them, and you have a really winning piece of content. And proactive media buy-in, that is our pitching. We tailor make every single pitch to each media person that we send to. And when we're doing this, we take into account the journalists that we're pitching to, the publication they write for, what they've written on before, the format that they like to cover news, and we package that beautifully so that they cannot say no.
All right, so possibly my favorite case study of PR done right. I'm going to play the video and we can talk a bit about it after it.
When KFC's #chicken crisis became international news in February 2018, after the almost total collapse of its UK operations, customers were left with a very bitter taste. Yet its response, in the form of an apology ad rearranging the letters of its name to spell out FCK on a chicken bucket, was a stroke of genius which transformed marketing mayhem into a brand breakthrough and rewrote the manual for corporate crisis management. The start of the KFC FCK bucket campaign. KFC restaurants were running out of key ingredients, including chicken. The situation deteriorated, and early the following week, hundreds of restaurants were forced to close. By this point, global news outlets were covering the story, screening footage of angry customers bemoaning that they were being forced to visit Burger King instead. According to data from social media monitoring service Brandwatch, on February 21st alone, there were 53,000 mentions of KFC running out of chicken, alongside hashtags such as #ChickenCrisis and KFC Crisis. Understanding the KFC FCK bucket campaign. KFC set out two objectives: a mass-scale public apology to mitigate the disruption caused to diners and franchises alike, and a clear and transparent explanation of what was being done to fix the issue. The UK general public are no strangers to what they perceive as empty corporate apologies. To cut through, KFC would have to turn the traditional crisis management playbook on its head, eschewing the usual executive apology on TV and avoiding the temptation to blame its new delivery partner. Instead, guided by the 3 H's of humility, humor, and honesty, it settled on another 3-letter word to share the truth in a bold and down-to-earth manner: FCK. The near-expletive anagram of KFC's brand name emblazoned on the side of a chicken bucket seized attention before offering an apology written in everyday conversational language. A chicken restaurant without any chicken. It's not ideal, joked the ad. It's been a hell of a week, but we're making progress, and every day more and more fresh chicken is being delivered to our restaurants. The ad ended by directing consumers to a dedicated microsite, again using humor as a means of disarming customer frustration. The effect of the KFC FCK bucket campaign. What had started as a damage limitation exercise was soon being heralded as one of the greatest examples of corporate crisis management. Rarely can so complex a business problem have been solved by such a simple solution. Marketing and advertising are being bold enough to get noticed. It's not always going to be appropriate to go as far as KFC did here, but it worked for them. It made a strong point very quickly. It also says a lot about the need to be transparent and honest. In a time of social media, shares and posts and videos going viral, one step wrong and a brand can be ridiculed across the globe very quickly. In the case of the KFC chicken crisis, the marketers didn't just get the advert right, but by choosing to print it in just 2 newspapers and avoid putting anything on social media, the public applauded its message, and the media traffic became one of humor over the concept and not of the situation.
So I hope you enjoyed that example. Like I said, one of my favorite to date. And I think that case study, not ours, I will include the credits in the chat box shortly, But what stood out for me is it's a beautiful example of how above the line being advertising and below the line being PR work well together. So like I said, PR does not work in silo, it works with other media marketing marketing mediums within your business. But what is important is having a common goal. So the common goal here would have been changing the public perception from a very, very negative conversation to one of humor, which puts KFC in a bit of a more positive light across the media titles. Let me just kill Siri over here quickly.
Siri wants to join the chat, everybody.
Right, and also I think what Sam wanted to add was that it creates,
It's for me, that is the most beautiful synergy between creative and strategy, and that is a dream campaign. It's simple, but it's impactful, and that's kind of a winning PR campaign right there.
Right, let's dig into the overview of tactics. Please do forgive me as Siri shouted us, but I can't seem to close her. PR strategy. So these are some of the tactics that we employ as an agency, and some agencies may differ. Some may hone in on certain ones, and some may have a broader spectrum. So PR strategy, this is where we work closely with you to identify what your business objectives are. We do so in order to translate these directly into communications objectives. It doesn't help if PR works in silo. That again ties into the second point here, which is it might be separate from your overall marketing plan and be a standalone plan in itself, but it needs to feed into the common goal that marketing is working towards achieving. Your PR strategy, it analyzes your messaging, your goals, and your audience to evaluate the best communications channels and tactics. And off the back of your PR strategy comes your PR plan, which includes rollout of tactics and channels. And finally, I think one of the most important is evaluation and measurement of success. So if you aren't getting the results that you're looking to achieve, you'll need to adapt or pivot your strategy. Next up is content creation, which is the bread and butter of public relations. This can take many forms: short form, long form, visual, written, etc. But content creation in a nutshell is storytelling, which resonates with your desired target audience. It includes trend spotting and angle curation to tie in with the news and media agenda to ensure that your brand is landed in the right spaces. But most importantly, when it comes to PR, content creation is a soft sell. It is not promotional. It is not an advertorial. It ties in your key brand messaging while still adding value to the reader. So the article itself may be on something very newsworthy, but it's about how you subtly, in a soft sell way, tie it back to your brand. I was scrolling LinkedIn in December, and this came across my feed, and I thought it was very interesting to showcase how content can be used. I think we all are very aware of the old school way of content creation, which is you create your content for a specific purpose. In the case of this example, which is create a blog, you post it on your website, and you hope that your buyers find it on Google. You hope your clients or future employees, etc., find it on Google. You need to maximize your content creation. So how do you do this? This is just one example of many. You'll perhaps have a video interview with the CEO of your business, and you'll use the expertise and insights that he or she shares to transcribe that into a blog post. You'll also use that then to curate a press release that you would then distribute to media titles. You would clip that interview for short videos for social media. You might post the full interview on YouTube, and you might also transcribe the text for posts on social. So it's about maximizing your content in a smart and effective way. Media relations. So I break this up into proactive and reactive media relations. And proactive media relations is how it all starts. This includes what you would see in TV or Mad Men, if anyone follows that series, but it's the straight up pitching. It's forward feature planning, it's angle collaboration with media titles, and it's pitching for placement of your brand. Where reactive media relations comes in is that once you've built a relationship with the media titles on behalf of the brand that you're representing. So 6 months down the line, the Sunday Times knows that I represent DMG events, and they're looking for commentary on a construction piece. They know to come to me. They know that I've got the experts on hand and ready to answer any or provide commentary on any articles that they're focusing on. Stakeholder engagement, again, a very important part of public relations. So this includes stakeholder mapping and a true understanding of who your stakeholders are, what they want, when they want it, and how engaged they are. It also includes the channel that they use to consume the information. It doesn't help that you're talking to your stakeholders on a channel that they're not even present on. And then, of course, it ensures positive reputation management and relationship growth with stakeholders. Crisis comms. I hope none of you have ever had to use this tactic, but it's very important to know about and be prepared for a crisis. So in a nutshell, a crisis is the act of protecting an individual, company, or organization facing a public challenge to its reputation. Quite straightforward. I'd like to show you a short video. I don't know if anyone recalls this, but it's off the back of the BP oil spill in 2010 and how the CEO of BP at the time handled a media interview.
We're sorry for the massive disruption it's caused to their lives. And, you know, there's no one who wants this thing over more than I do. You know, I'd like my life back. So there's no one who wants this thing done more than I do. And we are doing everything we can to contain the oil offshore, defend the shoreline, and return people's lives to normal as fast as we can. And there's just no effort being spared in any dimension.
So I hope the general reaction on this webinar was that is not how to handle a situation like this. I choose to believe that he might have been media trained, but I choose to believe that he was media trained with the kind of old school incorrect way of handling a crisis in this instance. He showed absolutely lack of empathy, and he showed how the situation was affecting him more so than the people in the environment around him. So what is the old school way? It is the 3 Ds, which is defend, deflect, and deny. We encourage you and your PR agencies to employ the new school way, which is the 3 Cs of good crisis comms. That is 1, curiosity. It's about truly understanding the crux of the crisis, how it started and how it will impact each of your stakeholders. Compassion. Please show empathy. It's empathy and care for the stakeholders and how they are impacted. And it's showing compassion for each of them in their unique ways that they're affected by the crisis. And finally, courage. I think a human instinct is to dig your head in the sand when it comes to confrontation. But with a crisis, you need to tackle it head on to kind of nip it in the bud as it happens. So in conclusion to crisis, good leaders, they put others first and they show how they intend on taking care of their stakeholders. Forbes summed it up quite nicely where they said, at the least, it should keep you from repeating Tony Hayward's most infamous line during the 2010 Gulf Coast oil spill. I would like my life back. No one wants to be remembered for that, and no one wants their brand to be remembered for that. I am going to hand over to Sam now. As mentioned, influencer marketing does form part of the overall PR stable. However, I think it is a tactic that is not used enough in the exhibition and eventing space. And there's a lot to tackle within the space. So I'm going to hand over to Sam to take you through.
Thanks, Kirst. Okay, so I think we all have some form of a definition of what influencer marketing is. And straightforwardly, it's a powerful digital marketing tool that involves a brand collaborating with an online influencer, or as they are now known, content creator, to market one of its products, events, or services. It ties in beautifully with PR because the main aim, once again, is storytelling. It's always been one of the most effective ways of human communication and influence, from campfire stories to online articles to Gmail, all the things that we read about and we hear about all the time. It forms part of our everyday lives. Why? Because it's our human instinct to crave connection and common ground. It's also the very reason why marketers and PR people have used storytelling for centuries as a key marketing tool to connect with customers' emotions and experiences. And when you can connect with a customer on that level, you've already got a winning thread. Today, influencer marketing is literally one of the most effective forms of storytelling. And of course, everyone can tell a story, but not everyone can tell a great story. And much like traditional PR tactics, that's where the magic of influence actually happens. What we love about storytelling through influencer marketing is that it allows businesses to create their own authentic narratives and connect with consumers on a deeper level. Again, it's emotion, it's emotive, it's connection. We want them to feel a connection to the brand. In an age where consumers are inundated with ads on Facebook, on your TV, in your email box, it doesn't stop. I think we all know that. This allows more businesses to cut through that clutter and deliver their message in a really authentic way that doesn't feel like it's being sold hard to you. Simply put, it really gives businesses a platform to tell their story in a way that resonates with their clients. As we all know, consumer trust is critical to any business success, and the marketing efforts, the PR efforts, the influencer marketing can really help increase that trust. The more you see a brand, the more people endorse it, the more you trust that it can deliver on what it says it's going to deliver on. And a whopping 86% of consumers look for advice and recommendations from social media influencers. They look for them to help them with their purchasing decisions. And that in itself is a huge telling factor that influencer marketing can really work for a brand. It's seen as more authentic than conventional advertising, as it is, once again, a third-party endorsement. And their audiences are most often than not loyal to their recommendations and will trust them over and over again over a brand punting itself. The why. Why is influencer marketing so great, and why should everybody be implementing it? We've seen it have unprecedented growth over the last 5 years, and that obviously opens up amazing doors for brands all over from every industry. According to Influencer Marketing Hub, the global influencer market was valued at $6.5 billion in 2019. By the end of 2022, it was at $16.4 billion. That's 100% rise. So it's not going anywhere, and it's going to keep rising. Though obviously the widespread use of social media platforms since the pandemic, the prevalence of mobile, the ever-increasing demand for digital content have been real driving forces behind the success of influencer marketing. And a lot of brands look to use that as a way to go market to their audience. It is no surprise that influencers have an unbeatable voice when it comes to mobile digital marketing, and they can really help brands tap into markets they haven't tapped into before, as well as gain reach far. The who, the influencer, which is now a content creator, and that term will most likely evolve throughout the years, is simply put someone who has the power to affect the opinions and purchasing decisions of others based on their social media presence, whether that be for their knowledge in a specific niche, where it's their position, or just their relationship with their audience. When you can find an influencer who has all three of those, then you know that influencer is going to really do great work for you. Influencers normally have a beat. However, we are seeing a lot of influencers moving into a more generic lifestyle space. However, for the eventing and exhibition space, we would be looking at a niched influencer. Just to give you some examples, we have Nadia Jafta. She is a lifestyle influencer, which means she covers everything from where she eats, what she wears, how she washes herself, where she goes on holiday, etc. Then we have a more niche influencer like a Mike Earloff, which is a travel influencer and only posts travel content, and Kay Yarms, which is one of the biggest beauty influencers in South Africa, who is very much beauty focused, skincare, hair care. A study found that these influencers and content creators are earning over 100 million Rand a year between 2019 and 2021 on only one social media platform. I'll let you guess. Yes, Instagram. But don't be fooled, TikTok is very fast coming up the ranks. And I think this is largely due to COVID-19 wreaking havoc on the media industry. We had multiple media titles that had been around for years closing. The news was inundated with COVID-19 reporting, and it left the public looking for in other arenas for their news and recommendations. They were tired of reading about COVID-19, and they wanted to feel connected to something other than that. And that gave way for a huge surge in influencer marketing and then turning to influencers for news and information. There are 4 tiers in influencing. Previously, there were only 3. There are now 4. And these are really important to keep in mind when figuring out kind of what types of influencers you want to work with. The first tier is the nanos, which are 1,000 to 10,000 followers. They are at the bottom of the tiers because they have a small following, but do not let that fool you. Nano influencers are known for having a much deeper connection with their audience, and they have very high engagement rates. They are normally quite niched and speak to a specific industry or genre, and their audiences go to them for that. They want to read about that, and they know they're going to get that when they go to their page. Then we have micro influencers. They are anywhere between 10,000 and 50,000 followers. They were all the rage in 2019 because nano influencers are a relatively new tier, and it used to start with micros. Brands loved utilizing them for the creative ways that they made their posts and how frequently they posted. Similar to their nano counterparts, they are normally specialized in a particular niche, and they've established themselves a little bit more than the nanos. And 90% of the time, their audience has been on the journey with them from nano to micro and really trust what they say. Then we go up into the macro space, which is 50,000 to 750,000 followers. This group represents the first big tier, big time creators and celebrities that have moved past just influencing to making money off of what they do. They are online personalities who have a massive, large following and are normally followed across platforms, which is great for any brand. While nano and micro influencers are experts in a genre, our macro influencers are like seen as the heads within that genre. And the established audience, as I said, often follow them cross-platform, and that's why macro influencers often have larger followings. The final tier is mega. I think we all know who mega is, that we're talking celebrities, 750,000 followers and up. They are celebrities. They've moved away from the whole social media savant, and they've literally become traditional, straightforward celebrities. They are normally very involved in pop culture, and they are, they're seen as traditional celebrities with their own online status, and their presence online is very well known. A little stat: in 2018, companies who used influencer marketing got a 520% return on investment. And that was before COVID. So you can only imagine what that percentage has risen to through COVID and now after COVID. By collaborating with influencers, brands can really establish a social presence with less maintenance, allowing consumers to connect with those brands, but through people that they trust. And also, it really helps with SEO. When we brief influencers with campaigns, we are always briefing them to use the words that are the keywords for your brand's SEO, and it really does help in raising that SEO online. The how. So brands tend to look at influencer marketing as B2C. They think fashion, they think consumer, they think food. They don't necessarily think B2B, but that persona is rapidly changing, and people really follow business personalities who they trust to guide them and assist them through their decision-making path. They range anywhere from opinion leaders, industry analysts, to experts in the industry sector. And these are the type of influencers we would work with in the exhibition eventing space, depending on the industry that that event or exhibition is aimed at. Over a period of time, these B2B influencers have really built their reputation based on their experience, their expertise, and their voice within the industry. Now we move into influencer strategy, and what are the 3 key elements to keep in mind when developing one? Much like PR, set your goals and KPIs. That is always going to be point number 1. Before you start anything, you need to determine what your short-term goals are, and your long-term goals are, and what you really want to accomplish through this influencer marketing campaign. Those goals will have an impact on each tactic of the overall strategy and ultimately allow you to measure the campaign's success. Your KPIs will also determine the overarching goals for your influencer marketing, and keeping them at the forefront with campaigns throughout the implementation is really, really important for success. Below are a few KPIs. I think that we've all heard of all of them: brand mentions, brand awareness, engagement rate, and the one we all want to see is conversions. Number 2 in your influencer strategy is determining your content strategy. Once again, influencers are literally digital word of mouth. They are going to be putting out content on behalf of your brand. So you need to know what that content needs to look like. So based on your goals, you need to determine what kind of content you want them to engage with, create, or participate in, because they can do all 3 or only one of the 3. And then a major benefit of using them is also that you can equip your brand with extra manpower for content creation efforts. any content that influencers create for your brand can be used by you on your own social channels, so it can be amplified. In this specific industry, the events and exhibition space, we don't just want to work with influencers because it's the new thing. We really want to be strategic and commission content creators to do activities that are relative to your brand, the audience, as well as the people that you're trying to convert. It's about having them join panel discussions, whether that's face-to-face or on an IG live. It's about them creating video content that they can share while also sharing on your socials. It's event promotions and reviews, showing people real-time experience and endorsement of what one of the events are like. And then just providing amplification of existing content and so much more. There's so many things that an influencer can do for you, but that would make this a 2-hour presentation. And lastly, but super important, is staying true to your audience. A lot of brands hear about influencer marketing. It's the big thing. Everybody wants to be part of it. And they tend to want to be with the times and forget about the consumers or customers that have come with them since before they were big, when they were small. So it's really important to choose influencers that are either seriously invested in your industry or are somewhat experts and understand the industry that you serve. But it's even more critical to choose influencers that your audience knows and trusts. When partnering with an influencer, you are gaining access to their audience. Essentially, influencer marketing is wanting to tap into their audiences. So we have to choose really wisely who can effectively tell that brand story to the right people. It's no point in having a interior decorating event and using a travel or fashion influencer to promote that event. We want to be speaking to influencers whose audience would want to join and visit that event. This will allow your influencers to connect in a more meaningful way that will ultimately maximize the value of the entire partnership, whilst again tapping into a market that you would not necessarily normally tap into and garner the most important thing, brand loyalty.
If I can just add to the previous slide, Sam. So I see in the Q&A, there's someone asking what our thoughts are on user-generated content. I think this slide and everything that Sam has said up to this point kind of hones in on the importance of user-generated content. So you might have an influencer or a media title, yes, being your goal for publishing and creating the news and awareness of your brand or your messaging or whatever you're trying to educate them on. But off the back of that, that spin-off is that brand loyalty you get from their followers or their readers or their listeners or whatever the case is, and them generating content off the back of that is the endorsement and credibility you're looking to add towards your brand. Let me know if I didn't answer that. I'm very happy to flesh that out a little bit later when we get to the proper Q&A.
Yes, I'm going to lead into a case study now, which gently touches on user-generated content and how that can really elevate a brand as well as create like a brand following. The first case study is just to show you the power of influencer endorsement. It's short but sweet. Kay Yarms, as I previously mentioned, she is one of the biggest beauty influencers in South Africa. And back in January 2022, she made a tweet. She'd been using Dawn lotion for her stretch marks, and she decided to go to Twitter and share the effects that it's had on her, which obviously were very positive. In less than a week of her tweeting that, and remember, this is unpaid for, this is just because there were real results. Shelves of various giant retailers, Dis-Chem, Clicks, were completely left empty and ran out of product. A statement from the Clicks Chief Trading Officer, Nigel Grimes, they sold out of 575 of 714 stores and had to replenish their stock. And that right there shows you what an influencer's audience can do if used the right way. My second case study is around Revolve. Revolve is a fashion retailer, online fashion retailer that houses a variety of fashion brands that you can buy garments from. The winning strategy, a robust ambassador program. So this case study kind of marries user-generated content along with affiliate programming. So Revolve launched an ambassador program, which actually allowed their brand fans and customers to become part of their squad. The results, 3,000 new members, 10,000 applicants on a waiting list, and increased traffic, sales, and insights. Now, you can have a campaign where you get increased traffic, sales, and insights. That's like the pot of gold at the end of a rainbow. So they launched this in November, and not only did they offer their brand fans and customers rewards and prizes for engaging with their favorite brands. They also allowed access and commission and incentives to have early access to new brands, participate in the brand's iconic Revolve Around the World influencer trips, and access to exclusive events. Revolve is very much known for being at the forefront. They are involved in a lot of events. They normally have like a huge tent at Coachella. So that was obviously a huge draw card for their customers. The brand's community-focused approach to the ambassador program was a smart move. As the definition of influencer continues to evolve, it allowed for inclusivity as well as reward loyal and new customers. The soft launch for the ambassador program boarded, as mentioned, over 3,000 members and drew a waiting list of 10,000 applicants. They also increased their traffic and sales, as well as providing insights with data from customers and brands, which I think is an incredible win for a brand when using a campaign like this. And to the user-generated content, in this specific case study, they were only asked to engage with the content. However, if they had changed that call to action and asked them to provide content of them wearing those fashion brands, that would have created user-generated content for the brand to use on their platforms. And hopefully they do that in the future. And that's influencer marketing.
Would you like to take a break?
Yes, I would. So I'm going to let Kirsten take over now.
So back to traditional PR, I want to take you through just a few high-level case studies. I've grouped 2 case studies together because I feel that they have commonalities between them. So let me kick off with the Hotel and Hospitality Show. This event falls within the DMG Africa Trade Week stable. And in 2022, so last year, we supported them on a 3-month PR campaign. Off the back of that, we achieved a 75-to-1 return on investment, a 25.6 million odd reach across print, online, and broadcast media titles, which equated to 42 pieces of coverage in top tier and right fit media titles, including industry and trade. Going into the next kind of snapshot of results is for DMG events. We hosted, we supported a township economy briefing that they hosted last year in November. This was quite significantly shorter than the hotel and hospitality one. It was a 2-week campaign. And off the back of that, we secured a 31-to-1 return on investment, a 12.4 million odd reach, and 6 pieces of top tier coverage. This included the likes of the Daily Sun, obviously speaking to the township economy, the right fit target audience, with massive reach across the likes of your broadcast titles, which would be ENCA, where Evan Schiff there is featured, and Channel Africa, which is a radio. So the goal for both, they did overlap, so that's why I've grouped them together, but the goal essentially was to generate brand awareness with the right audience. It was to educate on the offerings or activities or the positioning. So for instance, in the likes of the township economy, it's how DMG supports the township economy and works closely with leaders in the township economy to facilitate investment. And finally, it was also to showcase speakers, exhibitors, and partners, not only as added value to these stakeholders, but to lend their expertise and credibility to the events. How did we achieve these goals? So everything you've learned up until this point in this presentation, we utilized our existing relationships with key media titles to secure right fit placement for these brands. We drafted content that not only talks to what the brand is looking to achieve, but it adds value to the target audience. And we curated it per target audience. So we would break it down into exhibitors. Exhibitors wouldn't receive the same messaging that perhaps delegates would receive. We also targeted the right channels that each of these consume. And finally, we used what we had. I mean, you need to be able to use what you have. And in this case, it was our speakers, exhibitors, and partners. These are top experts in their fields, in their specific niches. And we use their industry insights and expertise within our content marketing efforts. Measurement. So I'll take you through 4 of the key measurement benchmarks that stand out for me and that I think that are very important. But it's very important to note that there is a ton of reporting tools and conflicting views on measurement in the industry. So reporting tools that you could look at that could help you measure the things I'm about to take you through include the likes of Ornico, Meltwater, Newsclip. You'll need to find the one that's right for you. It all depends on your goals and your outcomes and what it is you're looking to track. And that's how you'll find the one that suits your business perfectly. So some of the key things that I want to take you through is the first one being brand sentiment. So you need to keep your finger on the pulse of public perception. Brand sentiment is key in understanding where you've been winning and losing in your PR efforts. It gives you a better understanding of, are you being perceived as positive in the media or target audience space? Are you being perceived in a neutral light? So do people, they don't really care about the content that's published, which is not ideal. You want to be in the positive space, or is it negative? And if it's negative, my details will be at the end and we'll help you with some crisis comps. The second one is media reach. So I love this first line. PR campaigns without an audience are a good way to waste your company's time and your company's money. So press releases are absolutely worthless if nobody reads them. You need to ensure that whatever you're pitching gets the correct reach with the correct audience. Media coverage, I think one of the most tangible ways to see if a PR campaign has worked. I think also a debate here is quantity versus quality. So there's always a home and a place for quantity. Yes, mass media awareness and placement in right fit media titles. But if you're, for example, a interior design event or company, you will find a lot more value in one piece of coverage in the likes of a VC as opposed to 10 pieces of coverage in an engineering news. And finally, share a voice. As I mentioned, there are tons of tools out there that can help you track these various metrics. But share a voice is so important for you to understand what is the public perception of you in comparison to your competitors. How prominent and how authoritative are you in the media or target audience space in comparison to your competitors? And then our last section, how are we doing for time? Okay, that's a lot quicker. So if you do a quick Google search on PR and influencer trends, you will be inundated with various articles. What we've done is we've gone through them and we've picked our top 2 PR and influencer trends that we think will shape the industry for 2023 and which we are most looking forward to implementing and guiding our clients on. The first one is more dependence on external providers for articles and visual narratives. This is from a media outlet perspective. So journalists, as it stands, are currently very stretched, and ones that have found themselves perhaps only covering sports, as example, are now covering multiple beats. They will rely on PR professionals and brands to submit content for publishing their titles. So it might actually make pitching slightly more easy if we are adding value to them and their media titles. The second one, data remains priceless. I don't think I need to hone in on this one too much because data is gold. However, I like the shift that we're going to see this year. So instead of a business perhaps talking to insights, writing commentary on data that has been published by another business or organization, we're going to see a lot more brands and businesses spearhead and drive their own research and data to formulate their own reports and brochures and insights documents.
Influencer trends. So there are a plethora of them, but I found 2 that I really think could work beautifully in the eventing and exhibition space. And the first one is influencers will become key to many affiliate programs. So most people view influencer marketing and affiliate programs as completely different activities, but in reality, they are very interrelated because both activities involve an outsider from a brand promoting and encouraging their supporters to buy into that brand. The line is definitely blurring as influencer platforms integrate with e-commerce more and more and moving away from just simple awareness campaigns to actually driving sales. And how do they do this? We're starting to do it a lot more on our side with influencer campaigns is by providing trackable links as well as personalized discount codes. That way you can really measure how many leads these influencers are creating for your brand. And not only that, but motivate them with incentives. So for every purchase that happens or every conversion, they get a 5% of that sale. It gives them the motivation to really push your content. And once again, leaning into the affiliate program space. The next one is people of influence alongside influencers. So traditionally, when we think of influencers and their followings and their expertise, we're thinking of everything but B2B. But more and more B2B businesses are looking to work within the space with more industry experts or of influence who have weight behind their respective fields. Think Vusi Tembakwai or Bruce Whitfield. Although Vusi is now definitely an influencer with the following he has on Instagram, but they started as businessmen with expertise and they were thought leaders and they've grown since then. And there are much smaller personalities out there that do the exact same thing and have very in tune audiences. So CEOs, subject matter experts, and leaders in business are now really being connected with to assist in promoting those B2B businesses on channels that like LinkedIn, that those types of people are frequenting and go to for recommendations and opinions. And these types of figures, these B2B figures, are normally figures that their audiences aspire to or inherently trust due to their expertise and their leadership. And we're seeing a lot more of that in the B2B space. Just a little touch on the user-generated content. So we have seen, obviously, that seems to be one of the big next thing, but brands are very much trying to figure out, everybody wants an incentive. It's not often that people are just posting these reviews and videos and social media mentions for nothing. So I think there's still a lot to be done around the UGC space, that brands have to figure out how do they find all of that content, how do they use that content in their for themselves at their advantage, as well as how do they motivate the public to create that content for them.
And to add to what Sam said, we recently did a PR drive for a large South African logistics company. And the PR drive was wholly based on the user-generated content and interest from consumers to an ad that they released. So the whole article focused on how this uptick and how people reacted to this ad was the angle of that article. And that is it from us. Thank you very much for joining this hour session. I hope that you did learn a lot. If you've got any questions that aren't covered here today, you can drop me an email at kirsten@pulsecomms.co.za. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about us as an agency, you can visit our website and follow us on social. Let's connect. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from you.
I see one little question in the Q&A.
Thank you, Claire. How do you establish which media channels your intended audience is consuming? So Claire, this is not subjective at all, and it's very much dependent on the business guiding the PR agency, as example, or us working with you on who your stakeholders are, on who your intended audience is. It's then up to us to use the various tools that we have in place to understand the breakdown of those media titles and who they specifically speak to. So if you, for instance, look at a media person or a media titles rate card, they'll have a breakdown that they perhaps reach out, that their title speaks to 80% female within this LSM, and they are typically fashionistas, for lack of a better example. But yeah, it's not subjective. We have the tools in place and we curate it accordingly.
I think also leaning into Kirsten's response, the industry you play in, I think, is really important. If the target audience that you are wanting to speak to is in that industry, you're going to look at titles that cover that industry, whether it's a generic news title that has a section for your industry or an industry specific title. We look at those media houses and publications at their demographics, and that is kind of how we find out which are the right ones to go to for your brand.
Hope that answers that.
Any more questions?
Of course, Claire.
Our pleasure. Anthea, are you there?
I'm here. I was just waiting to see if there were any more questions. There doesn't seem to be any more questions. So thank you. Thank you very, very much, Samantha and Kirsten, for going through this presentation with us and teaching us about our PR. We look forward to having you again sometime. And thank you to everyone for attending. We are hosting next week another Lunch and Learn session, and that one's all about TikTok, which was mentioned today. So please, everybody, register and join us for next week. And thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Much.